I'm going to ask you now to just put everything down. Actually, let's do the other way around. We'll do this for 2 minutes, then I'll ask you to write things, and then we'll do another thing for 10 minutes, and then I want you to then pay attention. All right. So just sit comfortably, sit upright. You do not need to cross your legs. This is just the way I'll sit. But just sit upright. Sit with the back straight but not stiff. Close your eyes gently. Gently. We're not getting into a meditative state now. Just relax. Eyes are gently closed and begin to observe that thoughts are coming and going. Sitting upright with the back straight, but not stiff, just upright, the back, neck and head in a straight line. Eyes are gently closed and the expression on the face is relaxed. Relax your shoulders, relax your belly. Now breathe into the belly and just pay attention to your thoughts. Thoughts will come and go. When a thought comes and stays in your attention, just try to find out what this thought is about. And when you know what the thought is about, on that blank piece of paper that you have, just write down its name. It might be unfinished work, something you remembered, someone you need to call, whatever it is, just write it down. Whenever you find a newly developed thought, write it down. You need a paper? There's probably a few papers floating around. Krish, ko bhi de dena. Krish, you need to do this meanwhile on your phone. Sitting comfortably, observing your thoughts, and when you find a name for your thoughts, just write it down. There's no need to invite it, there's no need to engage it. There's no need to push it away. Just simply find out its name and write it down. This might be a to-do list, it might be things that are unfinished, it might be anything. Sitting comfortably, eyes closed. You can open them when you need to write anything down, but just try to identify your thoughts. And when a new thought comes, just write it down. Sometimes several thoughts come together. Write all of them down. Give it another once over, spend maybe another 30 seconds. Any random remaining thoughts, just capture them on paper. Look far and wide in your mind. Every available thought. Name it and write it down. All right, any styling thoughts? Write them down. Okay. Now, just look at the thoughts that you've written down on paper. Stare at that list and just make a mental note that, all right, I got you. You're on this piece of paper. Now go away. So just turn this paper face down, put it away on the side. These thoughts, you've captured them, they don't need to bother you at all. You can just let them go. Now the other paper is what we'll do our writing and thinking on. Just let it sit for a while. Now I'm going to guide us through a meditation process. So play along. I'll repeat instructions, so don't worry about it. If you've never done a meditation, don't worry about it. We'll just follow along and go to the end. It'll be about 10 minutes, right? Sit in any comfortable posture. If you're sitting upright with your feet on the ground, make sure you have full foot contact with the floor below. The balls and the heels of the feet are on the floor. Just sit with full foot contact on the floor below. Feel the weight of the body pressing into the chair and through the chair into the floor and through the floor into the earth below. Sitting upright with the back straight. The back is straight but not stiff. The back, neck and head are in a straight line. Close your eyes gently and relax the expression on the face. Let the tongue become heavy and fall down to the bottom of the mouth. Let that relaxation in the tongue travel in to the back of the throat, into the chest, into the belly. Relax your shoulders. Relax your belly. As you breathe into the belly and let the belly expand. As you breathe out, let go of your thoughts. Let go of your preoccupations. Breathing into the belly, let the belly expand. As you exhale, let everything go and feel a sense of relief sweep through the body. Sitting upright with the back straight, the back, neck and head in a straight line. The eyes are gently closed, the expression on the face is relaxed, the tongue is heavy and the relaxation in the tongue travels all the way down into the belly. You're breathing into the belly, and as you breathe in, the belly expands. As you exhale, you feel a sense of relief sweep through the body. Slow your breath down. Still breathing into the belly. Slow the inhale. Slow the exhale. Thoughts come and go. Don't invite the thoughts. Don't engage the thoughts. Don't propel the thoughts. Don't repel the thoughts. Simply keep your attention on the belly, letting the belly expand as you inhale. Feeling a sense of relief as you exhale. Eyes are still closed. Now imagine an O shape. An O shape with the mouth. And imagining the same O shape all the way to the back of the mouth, into the chest, into the center of the chest. Now right below the rib cage, right above the belly in the front, imagine this part also making an O shape. Now when you breathe in, still breathe in with the nose into the belly, but when you breathe out, make a gentle, soft O sound, only audible to you. Feel that O coming from your heart and radiating out. Everything is okay. Inhale into the belly, let the belly expand. As you exhale, make a gentle whispering O sound. Try to exhale in this smooth and long O sound. Keep doing it continuously. Breathe into the belly, let the belly expand. As you exhale this whole sound that only you can hear. And as you continue to make this inaudible O sound from your heart center at the center of the chest, feel your heart center expand, filled with a sense of quietness, a little tingle of joy, and an infinite array of possibilities. We're going to do this 5 more times continuously. Exhale and take a slow, deep inhale into the belly. Four more breaths. Three more breaths. Two more breaths. One final breath. Now just keep the back straight, but relax your breathing. Just breathe naturally and feel this sense of calmness that now pervades through the entire body and radiates out from your body. Feel this sense of calmness that fills this entire room. fertile, silence filled with possibilities. Just relax, enjoy this silence. Now observe your mind space, infinite in all directions. There's infinity that fills your mind space. Thoughts no longer appear, one or two maybe, but a mind that has expanded to fill the entire universe. Now the eyes have been closed for too long, so rub your palms together to generate some heat. When the palms are warm, gently cup your eyeballs with the hollow of your palms. Then, while the eyes are still shielded, blink your eyes open, feel the warmth from your palms into your eyes, and then pull your palms back while you're still blinking. How are you doing? How are you doing? So the subject of today's conversation is focus and finish. This is usually a very long program. It runs a full 11 hours. I've done a 5-hour workshop. It's still not enough. I'm going to do a very truncated 40-minute version of it. So I'll give you the major beats of what it takes to build a focus and finish productivity system for life. But before that, any questions on either your score or the experience that we've just been through? Any observations you want to share?
My head started hurting for some reason when I was towards the end of the meditation. My head started hurting. I don't know why.
One place or every place? In the front? Okay. How about you? Yeah. Too relaxed. We'll come to that. Good. What else? How are you feeling? Yeah. Yeah. Good. Okay, that's a good question. Any other observations? We'll try to cover that.
I think a question, how to maintain a routine that you do this every day?
Yeah. How long did this whole thing take?
Less than 5 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes? How difficult is it to find 10 minutes in your day? Several times a day.
Yeah.
Not much. So I teach meditations. I teach longer meditations and so on. This is like the intro version of it that we did. But this is the one I teach to professionals because this we can do whenever. You can do it anytime. So like when he comes back, I'll describe it. I'll tell you more about it. Okay. Yes, yes.
Like while you were guiding us and I was at it, I felt quite at ease, more so towards the end. But when I opened my eyes, like there was this sense of disassociation, very weird. Like I felt out of place here.
You don't know where you found yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Placed, like,
Yeah. Did you feel that you don't know what you're doing? Like, what am I doing here?
okay, why am I here? What's going on?
What happened here? Yeah. So that when you go too deep, when you come back, you have to reformat and like restructure. What happened here? Why am I here? Who are these people? It's that sort of thing where you've gone too far off the deep end and you come back. So in dhyana meditation, which is this technique that I taught, so it's you're trying to reach for a different state. A lot of the online meditations tend to be relaxing because they're built by Western people and they're solving for too much stress. We are not trying to reach for that state. This is not what you might call mindfulness. This is a different system of meditative practices called dhyana. In dhyana, we're trying to get to a state of relaxed alertness. We want to hold on to our attention and we want to be relaxed. That's what we're doing. And this is the state that we find ourselves in here, where we want to keep repeating like a mantra or some way to hold our attention to whatever's going on, but stay relaxed. That's the core thing. This is what athletes do typically, because if an athlete is too alert, someone's at batting and they're too alert, what happens is their muscles are tight. When someone's muscles are tight, they don't have the explosive response they need to be able to respond to anything. If they're not relaxed, they're too alert, they can't bring in the energy. If they're too relaxed and not alert, then they can't bring in the focus. So you want to be in the Zen state. And the Zen state is what the Japanese people called it, because the Chinese people who called this meditation, they called it Chan. The Chinese people called it Chan because the Indian people that taught them this technique called it Dhyana. So Dhyana travels out from here to China, becomes Chan, and goes from China to Japan, it becomes Zen. And so the Zen state that you might be experiencing is a state of calmness, which is relaxed alertness. It's not purely relaxed. It's not overly alert. It's not focused on a specific thought or any thought at all. It's simply just a state of being. All right. So we missed some of the good stuff. All right. So now the productivity system that we're building, I will talk through each of these and I'll explain what's going on. When you look at productivity, it's a very complex, intricate web of problems. And I'll describe every one of those so you understand why things don't work. Because what happens with productivity is it's not a one-time thing. It's a lifestyle. It's a habit. And what happens is if you learn techniques or you read about a technique, you might do it for some time, but then the rest of your life takes over. Because life has its own way to continue. And so these are all interlinked problems. And I'll describe to them each of those to you. The first problem that we face is over here with this mental clutter and attention fragmentation. Out in the Pacific Ocean, there's a bunch of plastic floating around. You need something? Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so in the Pacific Ocean, there's this thing called the Pacific Garbage Patch, which is essentially plastic that hasn't decayed or decomposed and it's floating around. It's the size of United Kingdom, large island full of trash, and it's floating around. Our mind is filled with thoughts. And so the mental clutter, because what happens in the day is you do one thing, then you watch social media, you do something else. It's leading to a situation where the mind is filled with a whole bunch of things that occupy our mind, but don't actually do anything. They're just lingering. And that lingering set of thoughts is preventing us from actually bringing our attention to anything we want. And so that's the first problem that we're dealing with. So I wrote a book about this called Global Business in the Age of Destruction and Distraction. And this specifically deals with distraction. What's happening is technology, trillions of dollars of market cap are now working against us because they're trying to keep us distracted. We all have our phone, we all have our apps, and they're designed to algorithmically keep us distracted, outraged, engaged, and just somehow tuned to clicking in and out. And the problem with that, of course, is that we have become used to being distracted. We're never bored. Because we're bored, we'll pull up the phone and start browsing. And that habit of browsing and acquiring more information, and you never close anything. You now know about Kim Kardashian, and we've never met Kim Kardashian, we'll never meet her. But there's something in our brain that's sitting around. So it's occupying space in our mind. And that prevents us from being able to focus. Having a cleansing process is important. So that's one. The other is it leads to attention fragmentation. Attention fragmentation is when we're always switching tasks. You begin the day, you look at the phone as soon as you begin the day. I do too, so it's not something that I'm saying to. And then what happens is you start something, then a call comes in. You start another thing, then another thing happens. And so even if you began your day with 100% attention, if you did, by the time you're actually hitting your stride by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whenever you're peaking, your attention is a fractional, 10% of your attention is available. The rest is still thinking about Kim Kardashian or whatever random thing is stuck in the brain. And so with low attention, we're not able to do anything. And we've got used to keeping our attention elsewhere, on our phones, for example. So we're always checking for notification. Have you been in this cycle where you've checked one social app, then another social app, then another social app, and then the first one again, and you're going back and through. Nothing is coming out. It's not as if you're seeing anything interesting. You're just mindlessly shuffling through because the attention is now fragmented away. So what's happening is that fragmented attention, even if you're working on important tasks, is holding you back from actually bringing your entire attention to it. And so you're only partially solving it. Your entire brain power, your entire genius is now not available to you. Just garbage floating around in the brain and a small amount of attention that's available to deploy. And so what that does is the quality of work suffers. This leads to a paradoxical problem, which is a very common problem in the Indian workplace, which is Indian workplace works Narayan Murthy hours or L&T SNS hours, 70, 80, 90 hours. Productivity, daily. There's no productivity. Why is that the case? This is all bullshit work. You're paying low attention to the thing. You're working longer hours because you can't get your work done. Come attention hai. So you're doing it with fractional attention, then you spend longer hours, and then you feel, okay, I must be doing hard work. But you're not really doing hard work. You're just applying a very blunt instrument. Your knife is not sharp. You're applying a lot of force to it. It takes a long time. Output is lower. So the second challenge we face is the attention fragmentation. What that leads to is essentially energy mismanagement issues. Now let's describe what that is. When we're tired, so when you're hungry, for example, your own body clock, because you're at different life stages, might be different. When you're hungry, what happens is glucose is running low. Your brain is now beginning to shut shop. You're yawning, you're hungry, you're distracted, and you have no energy to do anything. This is a human thing, right? At that time, with low energy, you can't really get anything done. What happens is we are consistently getting drained quicker because of energy mismanagement. And what that leads to is a state where we no longer we're exhausted, mentally exhausted. Man nahi kar raha, right? We're just tired. That mental exhaustion is leading to your peak mental hours. So we switch nostrils every 90 minutes. So you can be in one mental state for 90 minutes or so, and then it switches to another mental state and so on. You have peak periods when you're like, your brain is completely working. But then that's wasted because you're tired. You're physically tired because that time came and went. You just have no energy for it, right? And so the work that's being done is subpar. It takes longer to do it. because you're not putting in any energy. Now you might think energy का क्या मतलब, आप बैठे ही तो हैं. But if you look at chess players, for example, they've done this thing on chess players. They're sitting there. They're not actually riding horses and elephants into a battlefield. But if you look at their blood pressure is through the roof. They have to athletically prepare to sit under tremendous mental stress while they're just sitting. And that is a very exhausting state to be in. It requires a lot of mental energy to be able to deliver a very high focus game like chess. And things take longer time. And the reason it's happening is we have very poor understanding of our personal energy cycles. Because you might sleep late, habitually, wake up late. Now when you wake up late, you might have to go to a class immediately. You might have something to do immediately, but you haven't really woken up. Brain's not fully active. So you're now working at 1/10th capacity, and you're trying to brute force your way, taking longer time to do it, not getting the quality of output you want. Not happy with it, but kya karega? You have to keep pushing and you do it. And that's all energy mismanagement issues. Essentially, it's preventing us from getting our things done, right? Now, the next obstacle is there's this 2x2 of urgent and important. Task mismanagement is another problem because we are actually not awake to the things that we're doing. We are essentially transactional in what we're doing. So what happens is, kya karna hai? Whatever is top of mind, you just do it. It doesn't need to be important. It just needs to be urgent. This is due, I must do it. Of course, if it's due, you must do it, but there must be things that are more important that you're not paying attention to because urgency is giving priority. So the task misalignment, what it leads to is, as the old song goes, din bane hafte, hafte bane mahine, mahine ban gaye saal, right? This is 1, 2, 3 by the way. So what happens is, days after days, you're busy, but kuch output nahi nikal raha hai. And a lot of professionals feel that because now they have no sense of accomplishment. Busy bade, they're working according to the hours the L&T chairman said. 80, 90 घंटे काम कर रहे हैं. But when you look back at the year, at the quarter, at the decade that might have elapsed, you look back, kuch hua nahi, nothing of consequence ever happened. Because you haven't really paid any attention to the tasks that you're doing. You're just working through on a very transactional, low time basis. So this lack of vision and this inability to distinguish between urgent and important creates a situation where you're always continuously firefighting. Right? You're always late. You're always unhappy with the quality of output. You're always having to explain your delays because it's just not getting done. Things are not getting done, right? Or they're getting done to a poorer quality with more effort, more force being applied. मजे से नहीं हो रहा है. It's not happening very smoothly. The system deficiency is the sort of central problem that comes out of it. Now, system deficiency is, it is asking you to rely on willpower and motivation rather than consistent routine. You don't have a system that's productive. You're having to really push yourself to do things. Aaj karna hi hai. Right? It requires a lot of willpower. And the problem with that is willpower, science says, is a very limited resource. Itna hi hota hai din mein. Right? And this is proven, interestingly, in very unfortunate circumstances. They've looked at surgeons, they've looked at doctors, they've looked at judges, and they found कि 1 बजे के आसपास सब कुछ बुरा चल रहा होता है. Because if a judge is making decisions in the morning, they make decisions all day. It's their job to make decisions. अगर आप parole के लिए जा रहे हैं, they did this research. People that go to a judge for a parole hearing, they generally deny it after 1 o'clock. But sab ho gaya. Because they're tired of making decisions. There's a fatigue. It's called decision fatigue. It sets into the people. And so it's a system deficiency where your habits are not helping you. You're having to use willpower instead of habits. your routine is not helping you. You're having to use exceptional spikes of energy to do it. यहाँ पर पता नहीं कैसे होता है, but I've done engineering, and engineering is built on this idea of, and if you have people in the family that have done engineering, it's built on the underlying idea of जगराता. रात भर जगेंगे, रात भर मगेंगे, अगले दिन एग्जाम देंगे. I don't know, I hope Ashoka doesn't do that. Ashoka doesn't do this, right? No jagratas? Okay. So what happens is you're using brute force. Now you know that studying at night is completely useless. It is the worst way to study because your memory retention is zero. Your clarity of mind is zero. When you go to the test, you have nothing to vomit out because nothing has been retained. Sab bag hai. Right? But the problem is you don't have effective routines. Your habits are not helping you, so you're having to force yourself, dragging yourself through long periods of time to get things done. Right? And this amplifies all other issues during low motivation periods. Because what happens is productivity अब गिरती चली जा रही है. Now, force लगाने से भी कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. Nothing is yielding output. So what happens is it now your brain begins to shut down. Your mental clutter pipes in. Your energy also begins. You're just in a very bad vicious cycle where all your systems are failing. Right? And you may have found yourself in that particular state where everything that used to work no longer works, and now your systems are collapsing. And your problem is that you are blaming yourself because who else are you going to blame? It's your choices that you made. And the thing is, it's not a lack of willpower that's holding back. That's the central point of what I want to say. I'm doing this workshop differently from the way I usually do this workshop, because there we actually do things and we actually do a lot of discovery. But here I'm doing more expository because that's how much time we have. But this system collapse is a core problem that you will face not just here at campus. You're going to face it all the way through to work, because it leads inevitably to burnout. If you have elder siblings or maybe 5-7 years into the workplace, you ask them and tell me what's going on. I can guarantee you they're feeling a type of burnout. थक गए हैं, मज़ा नहीं आ रहा है, कुछ और करेंगे. You guys feel this? Have you heard this before? From your cousins or siblings? Yes? क्यों थक गए हैं? क्या करते हुए थक गए हैं? ऐसा क्या उखाड़ लिया आपने? You really, it's not as if you're doing amazing work. You're just tired. Why are people tired? Because their system is collapsing. So this is a problem that if you don't fix it now while you're still on campus, it will persist and eventually drain you of your energy earlier in life. And then people are checked out. They're burnt out. People that are burnt out. कोई मजा ही नहीं है. There's no joy in anything. You can't drag me to work. You can't drag productivity out of me. It's all bad. And it's a terrible place to be. Now the way to rebuild your system is to put in better systems up front. And that's what I'm going to talk about for the rest of this talk. But I'm going to pause here and see if I have any reaction from you. What you're hearing, is this making sense, or it's a lot of theory that I'm giving you? Yeah? Do you relate to what I'm saying? We're applying force because you're blaming yourself. You're applying force. But it's not putting the output. You're used to you're at the finest institution in this country. So obviously you're high quality, high caliber people. You've done really well in your life. You've come to this place because you've done really well academically. Do you find that your systems, जब structure था तो चल रहे थे. But now you're self-structured, the system has begun to collapse under you. And now you're blaming yourself because you think it's a willpower problem. I'm here to tell you it has nothing to do with willpower. It simply means that everyone has the same amount of willpower. You're just applying it, your system is not working. You have to reinflate the entire system together. And that's what the assessment was about. If you're getting all twos and so on, that's what's happening. Basically, your systems are subpar. And you now need to rebuild them ek ek karke. And now I'm going to talk about what each of those are and why those are important. But any other reaction?
I understand burnout in the sense that
Overwhelmed and bored are different states, but over long period of time they lead to burnout. Yes, yeah. And what happens is burnout may not only are you overwhelmed, you're just done. अब कोई कुछ काम करा ही नहीं सकता, कर लो जो करना है. Because there's no joy in anything. It's a state called anhedonia. You don't actually enjoy the thing that you're doing. You just pass it, right? And it becomes a permanent state of being. And my theory for why that is happening is जो मज़ा आना चाहिए वो मज़ा नहीं आ रहा है. तो you are filled with joy of life. You have this much energy that you begin your careers with. And every year you deplete. And at a certain point you deplete it so much that it no longer just makes sense to go to work. Because work is draining your energy. Right? Now why should work drain your energy? Should work drain your energy is the question. Must we accept that work must drain energy? Right? That's the thing. Work must not drain your energy if you're doing it confidently. If you're in a state of relaxed alertness, you can do as much as you work as you want, infinitely. And so those of you who've taken my class here, you know this, right? You two know, right? I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff. I've written books, I teach courses, I run institutes, I'm also doing corporate work, I'm also building my apps. हजारों चीजें कर रहा हूँ मैं. Do you feel that I have run out of energy? Have you seen me in low energy states? Because मैं ज़्यादा मेहनत नहीं कर रहा. I'm not working, I'm not using any willpower. बिल्कुल मैं relax रहने का, right? That's my entire thing because I get more out of myself when I'm relaxed. Because my work is ideas, my work is influencing, my work is attracting people to my ideas and my thoughts. And I can't be attractive if I don't have this gravitational pull. And I will get that from clarity, I'll get that from my presence, I'll get that from my energy. And so that's what I have to cultivate. When you enter the workforce, you'll be a worker bee for a few years. But then when you get into middle management and senior management, you're not a worker bee. Your job is not to do the job. Your job is to get the job done. Right? Then you have to attract people to your ideas. You have to influence them with your presence, with the intensity with which you're saying things. India mein, what's happening now is if you watch the TV, there's only one tone that you observe on TV. It's a loud, screamy tone. And you wonder कि ऐसे काम होता है क्या? मेरे तो सिर दर्द होने लगता है टीवी देखकर because it's always loud and screamy. न्यूज़ में ऐसी कहाँ आग लग रही है कि every day 24/7 like week after week आग ही लगी जा रही है. Why does that anchor have that tone? Because it's just the way it is. And that's the problem that we're facing right now. So, now, how do we solve this? Any questions or comments?
So you spoke of the importance of being consistent and building habits, right, and showing up properly. But when you speak from your own example, it sounds like it's more things. It's about you having tapped into what you're best at. And so someone might be consistent in the way they show up, but if they still haven't identified, say, their forte, they struggle as a result. So I think it's a function of a lot of things, not just one. So how do we effectively cater to all of these?
Yeah, no, great question. Great comment also. You have to find your genius, right? Everyone has their genius. You have to find your genius. But you have to find that your genius by doing things. काम करोगे पता चलेगा. You're good at this, not good at this. But you have to also find it, you'll only find it when you're paying attention to your heart. The reason I asked you to focus on the heart when you did this is you have to feel the feelings that you're feeling. I think I said that right. You have to truly feel them and not just cursorily. We all sit in the head. So why is there a pain in the head over here? Throbbing feeling over here is because we usually stay in the head. We're a thinking sort of generation. And that is, I want you to be more embodied. You have to feel the feelings. And that's when you'll feel that this is what I'm enjoying, this is what I'm not enjoying. That's when you know what your genius is. Till you're at that point, you still have to work done, you still have to show up, like you're saying. But even when you show up, काम कोई भी कर रहे हो, you can still try to enjoy it. And there are so many ways to enjoy anything that you're doing. Everything can be enjoyed. I'll give you an example of the most mundane, boring task: rowing a boat. Or making thread out of cotton, right? Or riding a horse, sitting in a train. A whole bunch of repetitive, mindless activity. But guess what's common to them? There's a rhythm to it, and there are songs to those rhythms. Why do they have songs? Because, yeah, and the song infuses energy into it. It's just the most boring, but you have a song to it, and now you have energy. You can do it longer. You can make anything interesting. You just have to find a way to make it interesting. You have to find your rhythm. And that will come to the T part when we come to time management. Break everything down into a rhythm. And suddenly it will reveal itself to its own music, its own craft. Big rocks. There's a famous video, I'm going to see if I can find it. With the big rocks is the... No, hold on, let me find big rocks. Big rocks is... Okay, here. Okay. There's a very famous, I think this is from Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, very commonly known. And this example is quoted. There's a jar, there's some rocks, gravel and sand left on the table, and you have to now shove everything into the jar. And so they're going to shove everything into the jar just the way you're seeing it. Right? Put the big rocks in first. Now, if you try to put in the sand first, then the gravel, then the rocks, you realize you run out of space. There's not enough space in the jar. Now, if on the other hand, you go in the other way, you put the big rocks in first. Guess what? It makes room for everything else. Keep watching and you'll see that it just finishes up. The big rocks leave room for the gravel leaves room for the sand. Everything comes in, but you have to put the big rocks in first. So when you are doing tasks that are mindless, you have to think about, what are my big rocks in my life? What are my priorities? What are the things that I must do that make other things possible? Because until you do those, you're always going to feel a sense of inadequacy, incompleteness, and just a sense that I'm doing things, but you're not doing the things you should be doing. But do you know what your rocks are? Do you know what your big rocks are? When I did the session last time, we did this, there's a whole meditative visualization we did. Ria knows this. We're not doing it today because there isn't enough time. But the 3 questions I want you to think about are these. To identify truly your big rocks is, first is, either the acronym is ICT, right? Is it important? What are the things that are important? Start making a list. Take a blank piece of paper, start writing. Important. Kya important? Sort them, order them. 2, is it challenging? Yeah, I know. Is it challenging? The challenging part is important because it must continue to push you. In 1961, our friend John F. Kennedy said this. I'm going to see if I can find it. Okay, where is John F. Kennedy? Okay, here. Kennedy said this. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things not because they're easy, but because they're hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. You have to take challenges because the challenges allow you to make more of yourself. Not limit yourself to the minimum you can do. You have to take on challenges that force you to become more than what you've been. So the first, is it important? What are the things that are challenging that I must do? And the third, is, does it change my timeline? Now this is a standard of sci-fi trope. I'm going to find the timeline thing. Okay, there you go. Did I find timeline? No, I did not find timeline. Okay. Okay, here, timeline. This is a standard thing in the sci-fi genre where you're moving into the future, and there are things that you do. I'll zoom in just so you can see it once again. You have infinite futures or a certain number of futures, right? But there's a future that is linearly ahead of you. But there's a turn that you can make, and then your timeline changes. For example, I was an engineering undergrad, and I got into my MBA program. It changed my timeline. I'm in a completely different trajectory in life because I did that. Then I went abroad. I changed my timeline. What are the things that will change your timeline? As in, there's a discontinuity between who you were and who you will become. Right? And so that we're talking about task prioritization. When you think about the challenges you need to take on, those are the 3 questions I want you to think about. What are the things that are important to me today? What are the challenges I must take on because they force me to grow and become more than myself? And what are the things that will change my timeline? Because that will ultimately drive the change that you want long term. Everything else is a linear progression from where you are, and linear won't do it. I'm skipping a whole bunch of content, as you can see, but don't mind that. All right. Attention.
So what are these 3 prompts again?
ICT. So what is important? What are the challenges I must take on? And what are the things that will change my timeline? You from 10 years ago, you were very different, very naive, right? But you've become you. But you're not just 10 years older. You're objectively a different person because you made choices, things happened to you that changed you and made you who you are, right? Extend that into the future. What are the things that will change your timeline? Because those things are the things you must really make happen. बाकी सब अपने आप आ जाएगा. So big rocks are the things that make everything happen. Otherwise you're applying a lot of force, brute force, and आप नन्ही सी जान कितना force लगा सकते हो चीज़ों पे. You can't bend the universe to your will, but you can go where the universe is already bending, and then you can say that you did this. So what are the things that will change the timeline? For example, I imagined and designed this course, and now I'm offering it at 2 institutes because it is going in a direction in the timeline that I want to be on. In my future trajectories, this is the timeline I want to be on. I have infinite possibilities because talent की कोई कमी नहीं है. But do I want to be on all of those trajectories, or do I want to work back and say this is the timeline I want to be on? And for me, this is the timeline I want to be on. Yes.
How do you zero in on?
You have to have lived through enough life, and you have to have come to my previous session, which I did, because I will make you go through this process. But unfortunately, today is not the day we will do it. There's a device I call Miss 10X, where you sit and you invite, it's a time traveling you from the future, who's coming to visit you, and she will tell you, Ria, did you not feel that when people were here and doing this? What was the response to that?
I don't remember. I was not there for that.
Oh, that particular section you were not there. But it's miraculous when that thing happens, because essentially क्या हो रहा है? You have now measured yourself from the past to today. You know what time travel feels like because you can travel from your past to today. You can go back in time and feel your past and move to today. The only reason it's opaque is you don't know the future. But if you pick your timeline, you know exactly the future timeline you're on. Right? So imagine you go to that you and you say, Acha, idhar aao, come talk to me. And when you have that conversation, this room, people have written page after page of notes from Miss 10X. तुम ये नहीं कर रही हो, तुम वो नहीं कर रही हो, ये करो, वो करो, and they are brilliant because it's stuff that you should be working on. Because that timeline has come to inform you. आपकी तो infinite possibilities हैं, but that's the timeline that you wanted to ask. That timeline comes into you today and says, this is what you got to be doing. And so that's big rock. Attention we already did. So attention is learn to master this very quick technique, but essentially in this state, we did two things that you might have noticed. We actually captured our thoughts on paper. And that releases you from the vice grip of those thoughts. Otherwise, they'll be buzzing around in the brain. आपने क्या करा? आपने उनको पकड़ के लिख दिया. So now you can tell them कि भाई लिख दिया ना. You don't need to worry. I got you. Right? I'll come back to you and I'll address you when it's time. अभी जाओ. And they'll go because अभी उनको नहीं ना. Whatever you pay attention to, if you try to not think about a thought, what happens is you're giving energy to that thought. भाई भाग जाओ वो कहेगा इनको अटेंशन मिल रही है वो वापस आ जाएगी वो thought. So now you have to suck out energy from them. And you do that with this process. That's the first thing we did. The second is we did this 10-minute process, which was hardly difficult and easy. It's very portable. You don't need me to recite the instructions. You already know what you did, right? That's attention. Third is time mastery. Unfortunately, I have not been a time master. So we're out of time, but I'll tell you quickly what the thing is, for you especially. Don't eat the whole elephant at one go. That's one thing. And two, your calendar is your time machine. It creates the future that you want. So learn to master your calendar. Don't eat the elephant at one go. सारा काम एक साथ मत करो. Because आपकी energy bursts में आती है. So the way to do it is block 30 to 90 minute times. जितना हो सकता है उतना करो. And then you bank it. Then you say, अच्छा ठीक है, I'll see you next time. I have done, if I show you my notes, I've showed her my notes. I have notes from 10 years ago. I have notes from 15 years ago, right? I have delivered this course I've built. Today I have the capacity to build. I've shown her, not a brag. I can do 30 courses like the course I delivered at Ashoka from all the notes that I have. But I'm just banking them because nani se jaan kitna time hai mere paas. But every time I have an idea, I will write it down. Every time I'm in a flight, I'm going to write it down. Every time I have bandwidth and I'm working, I'm going to process that thing. I can deliver a course a day because I have all these things. But what I'm doing is I'm time boxing. I'm not over obsessing. जितना हो सकता है उतना करेंगे, फिर उसको पार्क कर दिया. Then you move to the next thing. Block time and work on just the thing and then start working on it and do something else. That allows you to now consume things under less pressure. सब last minute नहीं होगा. आपने थोड़ी processing करी. So learn to iterate. थोड़ी processing करी फिर deliver किया. थोड़ी processing करी फिर deliver किया. So repetition is your friend. Rituals are your friend. Habits. You have to now look at habits as your friend. Habits have a inertial quality to it. They maintain their state. And that's the reason they're both friend and foe. Because your habits can prevent you from changing. But your habits can also prevent you from relapsing. Right? What you haven't learned is how to rewire your habits. And what you need to do is what Ben Franklin did, which is list your habits and assess your habits if they're still working for you. Ben Franklin had his 12 virtues. Ben Franklin, for those who don't know, like unmitigated, unstoppable genius. Polymaths like nobody else. Inventor tha, writer tha, US Constitution बनाया. US का पूरा the whole Declaration of Independence, including political, he was an ambassador to France when this happened. The guy was like an unmitigated genius. But he had his 13 virtues and he would assess himself on those 13 virtues all through his life. Do what Ben did. List your habits and see which habits are worth keeping, which ones are worth changing. And those, you don't fight those habits. You rewire those habits. Right? You take the cue that triggers into that habit and you rewire it and do something else with it. Go read Atomic Habits for that. I don't have enough time to tell you, but that's what we're doing. Energy. You really need to tune into yourself and find out several things about your sources of energy. You need to know at around the day when you're more energetic. Right? But you also need to know around the people that you're more energetic with, around the food that gives you energy. A lot of the stale tamasic food is actually depleting energy. So you have to find foods that are non-depleting in energy, right? You have to find people and ideas. This is going back to what you were saying. You have to find those things that give you energy. And you have to go in that direction, because your main asset, your main friend here is your energy. Not only because it helps you get things done, but because it helps you become whole, it helps you become influential, and it eases things for you. If you have to ask friends for a favor, you're working in a team, you have to go to a class, everything requires energy. So the more you tap into your energy, the more successful you become at doing it. But you have to do this like an accountant. You have to audit your energy and really take a look at what are my sources and sinks of energy. What brings me energy? Who brings me energy? Where do I get energy? And then the reverse of that. Who drains my energy? There was this guy in one of the companies I used to work with who I called a dementor, which is not a good thing, because then, you know what a dementor is, Harry Potter fans. Essentially, they'll come in and they'll suck the energy out of the entire room. Room अच्छा खासा चल रहा है, meeting चल रही है, guy walks in, and you can feel the giant sucking sound of energy. And then the room is gone, the meeting is gone. You want to also track that. Then that energy audit will give you a sense of where to go, which direction to steer your ship in, because it brings clues to you about what is really good for you, who is really good for you, where is really good for you, when is really good for you. And then that becomes your own sense of life, because energy harvesting is what you're doing personally. And in the energy thing, a lot of the decision fatigue problems that we're facing, right, which I asked you earlier, again, this is a longer program, but a lot of decisions, what you want to do is automate the heck out of those decisions. You never make decisions that you don't need to, because they're just like silly little decisions. For example, what's going to happen in about 5 to 10 minutes from now is that Abhi is going to ask me the following question. Bolo. What is the question you're going to ask me? Or Krish? कहाँ जाना है, क्या खाना है?
Exactly.
है ना?
Yeah. Where do you want to have dinner?
And what do you think my answer has been all this while?
I'm the guest, you take me where I go.
Exactly. Why do I do that?
Because you don't want to put unnecessary.
I don't want to waste any energy on that stupid question, because मेरे को क्या पता यार? And why will I obsess? But मैं थाली 4 खाऊं नहीं खाऊं, what difference will it make to me? Today I will have thali 4, but that's not the point. But you get the idea, right? So the way to think about it is choices, rules are better than choices. I don't do this. बस हो गया, बोल दिया तो बोल दिया, अब मैं अपनी नहीं सुनता वाला situation, right? But what's better than rules? So making rules is better than choices. Making policies, okay, I'm going to keep going. Making policies is better than making rules, which is better than making choices. Essentially, you're automating the heck out of your life. Now, why is this important? I am vegetarian. I'm a teetotal. Now, what does that buy me other than not making friends? What it buys me is that I never have to waste my time on कहाँ जाना है और क्या खाना है, right? आज पीना है कि नहीं पीना है, आज वेज खाना है कि नहीं खाना है. मैं वेज ही खाता हूँ जी, मैं पीता ही नहीं हूँ जी. So I have a rule, I have a policy, right? And so I have a whole system. There's a QR code at some point I could again it, but essentially, okay, because this is a souped up thing. Okay, hold on, souped up. It's QR code. Let me find you the QR code just for fun, and I'm wrapping this thing up anyway. Oh, here. I don't know whether. QR code. Bro, where is the QR code? Here, okay. H. It is a time box annotation. You got it? Okay. My bad. Okay. But this is the QR code. What's happening is this is a prompt for your ChatGPT. Because that's how it rolls. You list all the choices you're making in the day, on any given day. Any photo le lo. Right? All the choices you're making in any given day. Right? And then what you'll do is you'll type them in. you'll copy this text from this QR code. इसको लेके जाओ as you say, right? You copy it, paste that into your LLM, paste your list of your choices, and then watch what it does.
कुछ कोड खुल गया.
नहीं, just खुला है, it's got text in it, just copy the text. It's actually a prompt for your LLM. Because that's what we're doing. Huh? It does a gist, yeah. It doesn't GitHub repo, yeah. We should have text in it, which will be an, आपको चाहिए? This is one of my other जुगाड़ items. So, मैं बड़ा कर देता हूँ.
कॉपी करके क्या करना है उसको?
Okay, you copy and paste it into your Perplexity or ChatGPT or whatever prompt you use, but you have to also add your list of choices you make every day. आज ये करूँ, आज ये पहनूँ, आज ये, or whatever choices you make. And then what it'll do is it'll try to convert them into rules, convert them into policies for you. Try करना. It will show that GitHub
link that
हाँ, okay.
copy paste.
Okay, so ये है. Here you're going to get this. No, link नहीं copy paste करना. This text that you have. I'm trying to see if I can find you the copy button. So copy button किधर गया यार? Or when you do it on a computer, you will find a copy button. But anyway, the way to copy it is okay. Copy
Just
करने
long
का.
press.
Yeah, it is long press and then it will copy the whole thing. Anyway, usually you find a copy button somewhere. You'll find it on the computer maybe. But this is the one. All right, so that's in a very quick nutshell the Focus and Finish program for a lifetime of productivity. Any questions or comments before we wrap up? Okay, I'm just sorry, I was looking for this. I was not ignoring you. This is what we're doing. Okay, yes. Questions or comments? If you text me, I'll send you the text. I'll send you the LLM text. I have a very small handful of these guys, but enough for people in this room, so I'll leave these with you. So the 10 things that I've said, they're all on this. So this is all the 10 things we talked about. This is like the cliff note, the cheat code version of it. Same thing. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And whenever I wake up, like at 7, the first thing that I have is guilt. The first thing that the emotion that I
Right.
feel is the guilt.
Yeah, okay, I'll nail it. Okay, so you're fighting yourself, and you never win a battle that you have with yourself. That's just the law. You're going to have to not fight yourself. One, guilt is not a useful emotion in this case. One, जल्दी क्यों उठना है आपको पहले ही बताओ. मेडिटेट करने के लिए.
I just cannot focus rather.
हाँ ठीक है. So the only way to do this is the rules and policies thing, right? You gotta have a early night policy. One. Two, your body needs to respect your thing. Your body needs to know it's time to wake up. How does your body know it needs know that it's time to wake up? Not the alarm. It just knows. So right here above the nose, in fact right here the third eye, there's this thing called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Essentially, the timekeepers of your body are sitting right here. They need to know it's morning when you gotta wake up. How do they know? Low angle sunrise. So what you need to do is for a few days, You do need to sleep in early. When you wake up, within the first half an hour, early morning sun, go out for a walk. 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You're calibrating those cells. They need to know कि भाई सुबह हो गई है, because essentially हम hibernating creatures हुआ करते हैं, like mammals, right? Some mammals hibernate. They need to know how long the day is, because that's how they need your body needs to know how to order its खाना कब खाना है और बाहर कब जाना है, and so on, right? So the timekeepers are out of sync. You cannot fight your timekeepers. That's the reason you're going back to sleep, because your timekeepers are saying भाई सोने का time है, जगेंगे नहीं हम, right? You need to train them. You can't fight them. आ जाओ. You can't fight them, right? And the only way not to fight them is to give them data. So the only way to give them data is to go out for a walk. What you should do is go out for a walk, sit somewhere quiet and meditate there. So एक पंथ दो काज, quite literally in this case, because now you don't do things all in one go. But policy is sleep early, therefore resulting in not having to choose to wake up early. You just can't go to sleep anymore. अपने आप 5-6 बजे लगेगा कि भाई उठो बहुत हो गया, right? But you gotta have a policy, not a choice. Don't fight your own self, because you're going to lose one side or the other, right? And so you need to find a way to create the system that works for you, the whole thing as a package. Good luck with your pursuits, and I want to see your Miss and Mr. 10x in the future, and I'd love to hear about it. Sir.
Then sometimes I felt like I will go later on in the evening, and when the times come, my body start giving excuses or maybe I will do like.
अभी थोड़ी भूख लग रही है, अभी थोड़े थके हुए हैं.
हाँ, बहुत सारे excuses आने लग जाते हैं.
So you're choosing to go to the gym. You shouldn't choose to go to the gym. You should just have a rule. And your rule is you're going to go to the gym whether you work out or not. It's a religious thing. मेरे को 8 बजे जिम जाना है. जिम जी को सादा चरण स्पर्श 8 बजे करनी है, राइट? वर्कआउट करना है इज नॉट एज अ चॉइस. योर रूल इज जिम जी को सादा चरण स्पर्श करना है. इस समय दैट्स योर रूल. सी व्हाट हैपेंस. डोंट अप्लाई विल पावर टू चॉइसेस, यू लूज. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed this talk. I always enjoy giving this talk, and I hope and I wish you all the best. Thank you for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you.